Well, James Talarico is back at it again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Todd Stearns Radio Show. Great to have you with us. Happy Friday to you, America. And wow, do we have a very busy show for you today. A lot going on. A lot of gun owners in Iowa. We're going to be checking in with our good buddy Matt Velasquez, the owner of Patriot Talk 920. It is the most patriotic, it is the most pro-Second Amendment radio station in America. And Matt is at the Gun Owners of America Convention, which is being held in Iowa this weekend, as we'll check in with him a little bit later on. Also, our good buddy, former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, is getting ready for the big 250 rally at Mount Vernon. Boris Johnson, Ben Shapiro among the speakers. That's hosted by the Young America's Foundation. That's going to be a great conversation. Got a lawsuit against Southwest Airlines. Turns out they're accused of religious discrimination. And of all places, they were trying to force people to take gay pride boarding passes at John Wayne Airport. Now, my question as an airline passenger, what exactly was I going to be boarding? Or was somebody going to be boarding me? We're going to get into that with Brad Dacus over at Pacific Justice Institute. My apologies for that visual. And Senator Marsha Blackburn's going to be here in just a little while. Man, there is an ugly, and I do mean ugly, gubernatorial race underway, big primary in the state of Tennessee, and we'll get her to weigh in on that. But most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, guess what today? Parker, guess what today is?
What is today, Todd?
Today is Friday. Today is Open Line Friday. So, folks, you get to call in, and most importantly, we want to hear from you today. And we haven't heard from a lot of you guys. I think it's been summertime, people taking the vacations, and, that's acceptable. Our telephone number, 901-260-5926. Again, that number, 901-260-5926. We'll be taking your calls, sprinkling them in throughout the program today. All right, we've got to start with James Talarico. This is crazy. This guy's a certifiable nut job. So here's the deal. Talarico running for the U.S. Senate. He's got the Democrat nomination. He's running against Ken Paxton, the Republican. John Cornyn got whacked in the GOP primary. And John Cornyn's taking out all of his frustrations, by the way, on Donald J. Trump, who, by the way, I almost forgot about this, for the first time in American history, President Trump has convened a cabinet meeting at Camp David, and that's a big deal. So we're going to be pulling some audio from that throughout the program. That gathering just started a little while ago, so we'll get to that as well. But anyway, Talarico has been really spewing a lot of far-left nonsense. He's got a big problem with black voters there. The people are really frustrated with him. The blacks are not connecting with his far-left ideology. This guy believes that God is non-binary. He believes that Jesus is pro-abortion. And he also ran a meatless campaign, which went over so poorly. I think more people were upset over that than there were the comments about God being non-binary. They were so upset they had to film this guy eating brisket for 2 weeks in a row. I think the guy got gout. I mean, that's how much red meat he was eating. And then to bolster his bonafides, Talarico, I don't know if he was driving. Did he drive a Prius? We don't know. A Tesla? He had one of those coexist bumper stickers on the back. But anyway, he decided to rent a pickup truck, and so now he's really trying to try to connect with the average Texan man, and to prove that that he too is a Texas man. Well, someone needs to alert Mr. Talarico that you need a certain set of body parts to be a Texas man. So anyway, now he's back in the news again. This guy, he can't help himself. Talarico sitting down for an interview on a podcast, and he's really upset. A couple of weeks ago, we were telling you about the effort, and we were a part of that effort, to infuse the Bible into school curriculum there in the great state of Texas. And now boys and girls from K through 12 are going to be learning various portions of the Bible, traditional Bible stories and things of that nature. James Talarico is enraged over this, and I want you to hear what he had to say. Cut 31.
And then the last one is maybe the most insidious. It was a new state curriculum that would teach Christian Bible stories as historical fact, as the only truth to our youngest students. And I mean kindergarten, first graders. These are kids who aren't able to think for themselves yet. They haven't formed their own worldviews. And to push propaganda, to push indoctrination on those youngest students is deeply immoral.
All right, so there you have it. James Talarico on the record calling the Bible, God's word, nothing more than propaganda that they are forcing on the children of Texas. I mean, this is who this guy is. What's even more disturbing, ladies and gentlemen, we can now tell you that there is new polling data that has Talarico in one of these polls up by 3 points over Ken Paxton, 51% to 48%. More voters are, according to the polling data, more voters are concerned that Ken Paxton lacks the character to serve than worry about whether or not Talarico is too extreme. More Democrats and Republicans are extremely motivated to vote and extremely interested in the midterms by 7 points and 6 points, which is why those dynamics are apparently giving Talarico the edge here by 3 points. Talarico's advantage grows to 6 points among both extremely motivated and extremely interested voters. And this is all coming out of Fox News. Most independents and virtually all Democrats are supporting Talarico, 98%. Here's what's interesting. Fewer Republicans are unified behind Paxton at 89%. There's another report out there, by the way, that Paxton is losing some Republican support to Talarico. Well, that's the John Cornyn effect, ladies and gentlemen. 901-260-5926, our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. A lot of campaign ads dropping. We're going to get to Georgia in just a little while. I want to turn our attention right away to the state of Tennessee, my home state. And I want you to listen to this brand new ad that came out from Marsha Blackburn's campaign. Take a listen to Cut 32.
Memphis was the most dangerous city in America until Marsha Blackburn worked with President Trump to clean it up. Blackburn stood with police, fought for the support they needed. And the Memphis Safe Task Force hit the streets. 1,000 gang members locked up, over 100 missing children rescued, and violent crime plummeted. Marsha Blackburn fought for Memphis. As governor, she'll never stop fighting to keep Tennessee safe. Marsha Blackburn for governor.
All right, for the record, and I mention this anytime we have the senator on, I, early on in the process, endorsed Marsha Blackburn, and I'm very proud of my endorsement. I think she is going to make a great governor, and she joins us right now on the Patriot Mobile Newsmaker line. Senator, hope you're doing well, and I hope you're working in a nap or two. You guys are running all over the place these days.
We are indeed, and it is a busy time right now, and the early vote ends tomorrow, so we are getting every vote possible to the polls so we can get those ballots in the ballot box, and it is just awesome. People from one corner of the state to another have been joining us as volunteers and prayer warriors and door knockers and phone callers and working polls and helping us with this, what I think is one of the best ever grassroots campaigns.
It's pretty ferocious campaign too, and there's been a lot of ugly ads, many of them directed at you, making in some cases flat out false accusations. One calling you the Queen Pharma Mama. Where is all of this stuff coming from?
It is when people know that they're losing, and then they start coming up with these ads that are just, as you said, they're falsehoods. And people know that. And when you've got someone who is running a campaign and they don't have anything positive to talk about, they talk about the other people. But Todd, we are talking about the people of Tennessee and have been talking with them for a year or more, specific to the campaign and what their hopes and dreams are for Tennessee. And what they want Tennessee to look like in the future, and the importance of public safety, which is the ad we've got there in Memphis that we have up, about the importance of education for our children, the importance of having jobs, not only for today and tomorrow, but the future for our children and our grandchildren, about the importance of having a responsible, right-sized government. And I've said we will do a Tennessee-style Doge and make certain that we are going to not waste a single penny of taxpayer dollars. And that's what Tennesseans have been telling us that they want to see. That's what we are focused on, as we have let them know they have been heard. And we're going to talk about them and not about other candidates.
Senator, I support you. You have my full support. One of the things that I am disappointed in is that there were no actual debates. All three of the candidates on stage at the same time, being asked the questions, the back and the forth. I just think that makes for a healthy political process. Why did you make the decision not to do the traditional form of debate with your opponents?
Yeah, and by the way, thank you for your vote and the video. I really appreciate that. And we felt like it's an issue of how you spend your time. And our time was best spent listening to people and letting them talk about what they want to see our state become. And I love hearing those thoughts, and people knew I'd led that fight, defeated the state income tax, and Tennessee has been state income tax free and always will be. And we're also going to foreclose the idea of ever having a state property tax in November. That's going to be on the ballot. But when you're looking at how you use your time, it was more important to me to let people talk than it was for me to be talking at them. I wanted them to be talking with me and defining their hopes and dreams.
Senator Marsha Blackburn joining us on our Patriot Mobile Newsmaker line, and we don't have a lot of time before we go to break. Senator, I want to ask you real quickly about the Save America Act. I know that
Yes.
Senator Hagerty said, you know what, let's stay here, let's get this done. Where do you stand on that, and what are the chances this gets across the finish line?
Yeah, I am one of those that has said, let's stay and let's get this done. And as our conservatives in the Senate, and I'm on that executive committee, as we have worked on this now for 3 years, believe it or not. And the last couple of months, I said, why don't we start to break it apart, pass one piece at a time? And we have tried that. We've taken a couple of swipes at it. We're going to do it again this next week and see if we can just show an ID when you go to the polls and get that provision in there. And people that say, oh, having people that are non-citizens voting is no problem, I would direct them to look at what New Jersey has found in the last couple of weeks. I would direct them to look at what has happened. We've got 24 states that refuse to check their voter roll against the DHS SAVE system, which is the listing of non-citizens in the country, and update those rolls, remove those individuals. New Jersey had 6,600 that they say they had found. They knew 400 of those had voted in the last election. Todd, this is what you call voter fraud. So showing an ID, being sure you're a citizen, those are things we want to get passed, and we think it's important for us to stay. And then the House needs to come back, and they need to pass what we are able to get passed and get it to the president's desk so he can immediately sign it, and it will become law.
Fair enough. And we're up against the computer, but I can get a couple of more quick questions in. Back to the gubernatorial race. State Senator Monty Fritz, one of your opponents in the primary, making a lot of headlines over the past 48 hours, saying that he wanted to work to ban mosques. Very concerned that taxpayer dollars in the form of vouchers were going to fund Muslim schools. Where do you stand on what the state senator is saying there?
And what we know is that religious freedom is important to our nation, and it is one of our founding principles. We also know in Tennessee that you cannot implement Sharia law. We are a Christian state, and indeed, I think that we should be known as America's conservative leader because of the Christian principles and values that we hold.
Or rather, U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn, the next governor of the state of Tennessee, finally. Can we talk about nuclear waste? I didn't know that was going to become a big issue, but it has in the past 24 hours. Conversations that Tennessee might be one of the states housing this nuclear waste. Do we really want that here in the volunteer state? I don't know if we need that up in Gatlinburg.
Well, what this is a nuclear fuel cycle project that is being looked at for Oak Ridge. And there is, when you have nuclear energy, then you have that nuclear waste. I don't know where they're going to be. This is something the state is looking at. I don't know where they're going to be on this project. I do know that we are definitely a state that has the opportunity to be a leader when it comes to generating baseload power, and you get that from coal and you get that from nuclear power. And the small modular reactors are what is leading the way in that innovation.
All right. Senator Blackburn has the endorsement of just about every leader in the state of Tennessee. Out on the campaign trail, Senator, we wish you nothing but the best. Good luck out there and safe travels.
Thank you. Bye now.
All right, there you have it, folks. We've got to take a super quick break here. 901-260-5926. This is the Todd Stern Show.
Can't hear the whole show? Don't worry. Get the Toddcast and listen on your own time at
right, welcome back to the Todd Stearns Radio Show, and this is the place, ladies and gentlemen, where we ask the questions that you want asked. We're going to take a quick break here. This is a quick turnaround. We wanted to keep Senator Blackburn as long as we could. Who are you supporting if you're in Tennessee? You've got 3 candidates there. Also in Georgia, who are you guys voting for? 901-260-5926. That's 901-260-5926. We are going right to your calls coming up next. All right, welcome back to the Todd Stearns Radio Show. All right, as promised, let's go to the phones. Before we do that, though, I do want to share this item with you. This is coming from the Nashville Banner, and the Nashville Banner is reporting that the Tennessee gubernatorial race, which Marsha Blackburn led by, I think, over 50 points at one time, the Nashville Banner is now saying this race is incredibly close. As a matter of fact, a brand new poll by a group called On Message, they polled 800 likely Republican primary voters last week, and Blackburn is still leading, but her poll numbers have incredibly diminished, 34.5% compared to John Rose at 31%, and then Monty Fritz with 25.6%. 9% of respondents say they are undecided. And this is one of the reasons why you're seeing a lot of, there are a lot of ugly attack ads out there, and a lot of them are coming from outside PACs that are seeing Tennessee as a war zone right now as Republicans battle Republicans. And let me just say this, I like all three of them. I know that gets me in trouble with everybody, but all three of these people would make fine governors. I'm just a big fan of Marsha Blackburn, and I've supported her for years and years and years. And you know what else she did that the other two guys did not do? She personally asked me for her vote, and I respect that. So anyway, so again, a lot of people completely disagree with me, and I get that. But this polling data shows that something has happened in the Blackburn campaign. When you go from leading your opponents by over 50 points and now you're neck and neck, wow, what does that tell you? All right, 901-260-5926. Let's go to the phone lines. Mike in Clear Lake City, Texas, listening to us on Patriot Talk 920. Hey there, Mike, what's on your mind?
Well, you asked her the question about her opponent, the state senator funding, Muslim schools and so forth with vouchers. And she did not answer your question. She did the Democrat dodge and deflect. She did not say that she agreed or disagreed with his perspective. And that right there, if I was a Tennessee voter, she just lost my vote by not answering your question.
You know, Mike, it's an interesting thing because Representative Fritz has been very open about wanting to return Christ and the Constitution back to everything we do here in Tennessee. You did hear the senator say that America is a Christian nation, but you're right, she did not directly answer what the state representative is wanting to do, which is to ban mosques and what he called pagan religions. So if there's a pagan religion in his mind, they should not be allowed to practice their religion on Tennessee soil.
Well, to me, Islam is not a religion. It's a political ideology.
Exactly.
And where in all of recorded human history have Muslims ever lived peacefully in another nation outside of a Muslim country?
Mike, I'm going to answer your question, Fred. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but look at what's happening in Spain right now. That's an Islamic invasion.
Absolutely. And we've got the same thing going on here in Texas. Chip Roy can mouth off all he wants. The Islamic takeover of Texas started decades ago, and we're literally overrun. And that's the whole point. People need to step back and look at the big picture. This isn't Christianity versus Islam. This is a political ideology overtaking America.
Mike, it's a great point you raise, and again, when you look at and that's been my argument all along, is that Islam is not a religion, it is a political ideology, and when you look throughout world history, and you've got to go all the way, you're talking thousands of years of history. When you go back and you study Islam, you understand these are not peaceful people. They come in, they conquer, they destroy, and they kill the infidels. That would be people like you and me, Mike.
Well, it all goes back to Ishmael and Isaac. Muhammad created Islam to motivate the Ishmaelites to make war with the Israelites. That's where it all stems from, and it's never going to stop. And there's no living at peace with these people. It's not in their DNA.
Well, let me just say this. Let me say this, Mike. And again, when bringing it back to what's happening, and the reason this is a huge campaign issue is that there are school vouchers, and parents are allowed to use those vouchers to send their kids to whatever school they want to send their kids to, whether it's a Christian school or a Hebrew school or a Muslim school. And you've got hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars that are now going to these Islamic schools. In Memphis, Tennessee yesterday, this shocked a lot of people, Mike. They put out an all call. There is they're calling it a get out the vote campaign just for Muslims. And they're going to be gathering tomorrow, going out. That's the last day of early voting, and they're going to be going to the polls en masse. I can promise you, Mike, that's happening in Texas as well. Muslims are mobilizing the vote. Conservative evangelical Christian churches, many of the non-denominational, are completely disengaged. And as I pointed out yesterday, you've got the black churches that are radical progressive churches. You've got the white radical progressive churches, and you've got the Muslims. They are all engaged in the political process, while the Southern Baptist and the non-denominational folks sit on their blessed assurance and do nothing, saying it is beneath them to get involved in politics. That will lead, my friend, to the destruction of the United States of America as we know it.
Well, all these boys-only Islamic schools that are now starting to pop up, those are not schools. Those are jihadist training camps, I can assure you.
Yeah, well, and that's the question I have. What exactly are they teaching those kids? And God forbid, 5-10 years from now, we have some sort of a massive terror attack in Tennessee, and the person responsible was trained right here on Tennessee soil. So it certainly is something that everybody ought to be concerned about. Mike, thank you for that call. Here's a better thought. And the reason they're doing the vouchers, now hear me on this. This is gonna tick off the Christian crowd here. But here's the reality. The only reason we're doing these vouchers so that kids can send their, that parents can send their kids to the Christian schools or the private schools or whatever, is because the taxpayer-funded schools are failing. Here's a thought, and I know it's a wild one. Why don't we fix the failing public schools? Why don't we do that instead? Is that even remotely a possibility? All right, let's 901-260-5926. That's 901-260-5926. Let's go to Mike in Memphis, Tennessee, listening to us on KWAM. Mike, what's on your mind?
Greetings, Todd. Yeah, I was listening to the information early in the week about the concern about Fauci and him not being able to be prosecuted. But one of the things that the state of Tennessee is going to have when we elect Monty Fritz is a governor who will have an AG that will go after those people, including Fauci and everyone that was involved in that scam, to be prosecuted and be held accountable for the victims of the state of Tennessee. Not only that, Monty, he's got a functional way of articulating the Constitution that none of these other candidates can. He can apply the Constitution on the fly without pulling out a cheat sheet or scheduling an appointment with a preordained disseminated message that has been approved by a committee. He actually knows this stuff and he can apply it. And that's one thing that the average person that supports the Constitution can get behind that we've never had as far as I can recall.
Yeah, I don't think we have had in at least in my memory, in my lifetime, Mike. Look, I agree with you, and I think that is the workaround here is the federal pardon does not cover any state charges. So state attorneys general can actually jump in there. I know Florida, Mike, has already said, yeah, we're investigating right now. Utmeyer is the AG down in Florida, and they're already going after Fauci. I think that's a good thing. I like that idea. Real quick, Mike, before we let you go, are you surprised by those polling numbers we just shared with you?
Yeah, I'd like to see who they're polling. I think that there's a lot of people that are not disclosing who they're voting for because they just don't want the harassment. But the people, I'm standing at a poll right now, and I've talked to several people this morning, and everybody I've talked to except for two are Fritz supporters, and they just want to go in and vote and not be harassed. But when you talk to them just one-on-one without a crowd, they're saying, yeah, they support the Constitution, and they don't feel like these other two candidates have a track record of that. And so they're going with their gut and their heart. They're not listening to these pundits that say, you can't vote for that guy because he's not going to win. Well, they're thinking, no, if I vote for you, I'm not going to win. I'm voting for the Tennessean, not the D.C. candidate.
All right, Mike, good call today. Thank you for weighing in, and thank you for being out there at those polling places. Again, early voting underway in Tennessee, and the numbers are huge. The bad news, the Democrats are outpacing the Republicans. That is a disturbing thing. And now we hear what's happening in Texas with the polling data showing that some Republicans are throwing their support behind James Talarico, a guy who literally thinks the Bible is propaganda. Unbelievable. Let's go to Athens, Georgia. Scott listening to us on WDUN on this Open Line Friday. Hi, Scott. What's on your mind?
Mr. Todd, I got a question. Why hasn't President Trump and the Justice Department gone back and brought these, like Jose Ibarra, the killer of Lake and Riley, the killer of Molly Tibbetts, and that girl that got killed out in San Francisco? Why haven't they gone back and brought these people back and tried them under federal statutes and seek the death penalty?
Well, Scott, they can't even do anything with the illegals who haven't murdered anybody. So I don't know if it's a matter of they don't have the resources or the manpower, or maybe they don't have the wherewithal. But if you remember, President Trump signed when was this? This was earlier this year. I think it was back in January when he signed the Lake and Riley Act into law. You know, it is the law of the land, and it mandates that if you are illegal and you are accused of all sorts of crimes, including death or serious injury, then you are mandated to be detained by the feds. So I don't know the answer to that question other than that.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Jose Ibarra, he crossed state. He was wanted in New York, and he crossed state lines. That's a federal thing. And the thing is that Governor Kemp and Chris Carr down here, they just covered it up. They didn't try to seek the death penalty. They just let this DA over here in Athens just do this Hispanic, just do whatever.
He got what, life in parole, life without parole. Is that right? I think that was the decision.
That was correct, but everybody jumped all over Kemp and Carr, and they just hee-hawed around and made 3,000 excuses why they couldn't do anything, but they never really put pressure on this DA here in Clark County to go after the death penalty. I mean, either that, they should have removed her as DA. DeSantis removed DAs in Florida, and Kemp won't remove nobody. He didn't even remove the sheriff that was part of this problem here in Clark County with this sanctuary thing. He didn't even remove him. I mean, it's just, the whole thing is just, it stinks here in Georgia over Lake and Riley. I mean, this thing is just never going to go away.
Scott, I'm with you. I'm a hardliner. You take a life, then you forfeit yours. That's the way it ought to be. And quite frankly, with these illegals, I would take it a step further. I don't care where you committed the crime, but when you're executed, they take you down to that southern border, and it is a public execution and a warning to anyone that you come into this country illegally and you commit a crime. This is what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
But I'm just a hardliner like that. Scott, I got to run. They're making me, they're hollering at me. We got to take a break here, but I certainly do appreciate your call. 901-260-5926. Already we've had some great calls on this Open Line Friday. I have to tell you, this segment brought to you by our friends at Newsmax. My last show was yesterday. I am so happy. I'm now officially a contributor at Newsmax, which I'm very happy about. But I got to tell you, that was a workload. Millions of Americans agree with President Trump, and they're switching to Newsmax. They're watching incredible shows. Greta, Carl Higbee, Rob Schmidt, Finnerty, more. If you're tired of big media, start watching Newsmax. It is free to start. Go to newsmaxplus.com for immediate access. You're going to get all of President Trump's most important events live. You're going to watch some great docus, including Mike Huckabee, Melania Trump, Clint Eastwood. Once you start Newsmax Plus, you will not stop. So try it for free. Go to newsmaxplus.com. Download the app. That's newsmaxplus.com.
You're with Todd.
Right, let's go right back to the phones here on this Open Line Friday, 901-260-5926. Carrie in Memphis, Tennessee, listening to us on KWAM. Carrie, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, you were talking about fixing the public schools. Well, that's not going to be an easy thing to do, because the first thing you got to do is take control away from the teachers' unions.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big part of it. And look, nobody said it was going to be easy, but the reality is that we've got to do something. And I think one of the first steps is actually taking control of these local school boards. A lot of folks on the conservative side of the aisle, they want to run for Congress or the Senate or whatever, but they don't want to run for an office that really, really matters, which would be the local school board. So I think if we can start there, we can start whittling away at the influence of these teachers' unions.
Well, that's true. But the way you make sure the teachers' unions don't have control of the local school boards is you simply make it illegal to join a teachers' union in the state, and that can be done. That's not a freedom of association. There's no freedom of association with that. That's not a violation.
And that's what you would do, Carrie. Okay, I think we lost Carrie. All right, thank you for the call there. No, actually, you can't do that, was the point I was getting around to. You cannot completely ban teachers from joining a union. What states can do is they can restrict things like collective bargaining rights and strikes and things of that nature, but you cannot do an outright ban. All right, we've got to take a quick break here. When we come back, Brad Dacus from Pacific Justice Institute joins us. A weird story about Southwest Airlines. We'll get to more of that. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the countdown stage, and I am so excited for you to read my new book. It's called The Golden Age: How Trump Saved America. This book, well over 300 pages, and we celebrate the incredible accomplishments, but then we take a look at the future, and we take a look at where America needs to go next after President Trump leaves office in 2028. This is a book for every freedom-loving American patriot, and especially if you've got kids, young people, teenagers, college kids, they need to read this book. They're going to get a great history lesson on who we are as Americans. So you can get yourself a copy pre-ordered today on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, wherever you buy your books. It will be in stores on August the 11th. Now, if you live here in the Memphis area, we would love to see you on Tuesday, August 4th. We're doing a big book launch party. If you'd like info on that, you can call Helen, and we'll make sure you get all the information there. Again, our number, 901-260-5926. That's 901-260-5926. Hang tight, everybody. We'll be right back. And hello, everybody. Welcome to the Todd Stearns radio program. So happy to have you with us today. I want you to write down our telephone number. It is Open Line Friday, so we'll be taking your calls on whatever you want to talk about today. That number, 901-260-5926. That's 901-260-5926. And may I just say, well done, callers, in the first hour of the show. Great content and a great conversation. All right. By the way, if you missed our interview with Senator Marsha Blackburn, you can go to our website, ToddStearns.com. You can download our free podcast, and you'll be able to listen to Senator Blackburn's interview along with many of the other interviews we've done and all of the shows that we've done this week. Again, that is a free service that we provide you over at ToddStearns.com. A crazy story out of California, John Wayne Airport, involving a Pride Month display and Southwest Airlines. Well, here to explain why Pacific Justice Institute is suing Southwest Airlines, let's bring in the president of Pacific Justice Institute, my good friend Brad Dacus. Brad, good to have you with us. What in the world is going on here, sir?
Yeah, it's really sad and disappointing to hear this coming from Southwest Airlines. Apparently, well, they had a big display, and for the June Pride Month, and they wanted to give it full recognition, and they can do that. And at the ticket counter, they had this big Pride sign, and they had this another big, huge, gigantic sign saying everyone's welcome. Everyone is welcome, with a big rainbow background with it. Well, an employee of Pacific Justice Institute was getting their boarding pass, went up there and just simply asked the question in a very respectful way, saying, what do you mean by when you say pride? Pride in what? What are you talking about? Exactly. And anyway, and was shocked when the ticket clerk said, "I'm not going to serve you. You're not going to get a ticket." And this was really taken back because he was being challenged because of his Christian beliefs, and it was very obvious, I guess, to the flight attendant that this was one of those Christians, and we have evidence of that he actually knew that this was a Christian, apparently. And so as it turns out, he then said, and no one else give him a boarding pass either. And then this individual said, "Well, okay, can I talk to the supervisor?" And he went back, and then he came back and said, "Yeah, supervisor is not available." So this employee of Pacific Justice Institute was treated like a second-class citizen, clearly because of his Christian beliefs and his faith and his convictions, and had to find an alternative way to be able to get on the Southwest Airlines flight. It's a huge disappointment, but Southwest, unfortunately, has taken no remedial actions at all, not even an apology to this employee. So we at Pacific Justice are representing this staff member, and I've sued Southwest Airlines for clearly violating public accommodation doctrine pursuant to California law.
So I just want to be clear, and I apologize for having to ask these questions, Brad, but you know how the media is, and I want to make sure we're clear. We've seen videos of airline passengers going bonkers crazy. They're jumping behind the ticket counters and causing all sorts of chaos when things they don't get their way. Your staffer did not do any of that, right? So very kind and polite.
Very kind. In fact, the staffer, is reportedly very strong in their Christian faith, made a point to have a smile on their face. They were inquiring, and there was just absolutely no justification for this kind of treatment. And the good news for the staff member is the fact that there is one of those clerks, those behind the ticket counter, happens to be a very strong, committed Christian. And we believe will provide all the validation that's necessary to show that there was absolutely no reason for them to be treated like this.
Yeah.
And if Southwest wants to promote, and they take it upon themselves as an ideology, which they have, to push out LGBTQ, they have the freedom to do that. But legally, they can't do that at the same time if they're going to treat Christians like second-class citizens and actually deny them services simply because of a question they asked that was indicative of their clear Christian religious beliefs.
So your staffer went trying to get some help printing this boarding pass. The ticket agent refused to. Did other people as well? Was the staffer eventually allowed to get a boarding pass?
Yeah, the staffer had to find another way to do that to be able to get on the plane. So they were able to get on the plane, but even then the staffer was really shaken and not sure that even when he got to the gate, that they weren't going to pull him and say, no, you can't get on the plane. It was very nerve-wracking for this individual, and we really take it to heart, and that's why we're taking this case very serious. We're going to take this as far and as long as we need to. We intend to push this out on our media platforms across the country, and we want to hold Southwest accountable. If Southwest had apologized, if Southwest had said this was wrong, we wouldn't be here. But they would not even apologize to this staff member, make no changes in terms of their policies. This is outrageous. It wasn't just one employee. There were other staff members there who denied services as well. And the supervisor was apparently put on notice and refused to come out and allowed this thing to play its course. We need to put our feet down on that. And we at Pacific Justice intend to represent anyone else out there, specifically Southwest Airlines. If they have any kind of harassment by a flight attendant, a clerk counter, anyone, or any airline for that matter, they need to contact us. We've got offices all over the country. We are ready to file lawsuit after lawsuit against any airline like Southwest that has clearly crossed the line. We have to stop this clear anti-Christian bigotry and hostility. We need to nip it in the bud, and that's what we're intending to do.
I am just stunned here because I have to imagine a lot of Christians fly Southwest Airlines, and for something like this to happen, it just seems to me not only is it a violation of the Constitution, it seems to me, Brad Dacus, this is also a pretty bad business model.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And the longer this thing draws out, the more and more people are going to find out about it. And I encourage people out there, if they go to a Southwest Airlines ticket counter, they might want to just say, I'm a Christian. State that for. And I heard that, thought about the lawsuit about the Christian that was denied a boarding pass because he asked about, what the pride sign was about. I'm really disappointed in that. Public pressure can also, coupled with the litigation, I think can help change policy. But right now, the people they apparently have in their leadership, they're not the same as mainstream America. Apparently, they're far to the left, and the fact that they have not taken remedial measures at all, not even an apology, that doesn't sit well with myself or I think most Americans or most customers.
I think the most egregious part of this that happened at John Wayne Airport, Brad.
Yeah, it's probably one of the more conservative communities. It's Southern Orange County, California. It's a little bubble, if you will. A lot of Christians live in Southern Orange County. So I think it is ironic that they would do it there. And if they'll do it there and go out of their way to do what they did there, they can do it at LAX and other airports across the country. We have to put our foot down. Yeah,
Brad, while you're suing them on this particular issue, can you add something to the lawsuit, doing something about the new boarding procedures at Southwest? Is that possible?
I know that's been very frustrating for many people, especially if they're not an A-list preferred, getting those seats at the very front where they get the free pistachios and the 2 inches or however many inches more of leg room. That's been fairly frustrating, and I hear you there. But I could deal with that. I think most customers they can bear that, but they can't bear the idea that they could be possibly prevented from flying on the airline. Because of their Christian beliefs.
Denied service.
Yeah, because of their identity as a Christian, their Christian beliefs and convictions, and just asking a question with a smile. That's unheard of. And but we're going to make sure we're going to do everything we can to make sure this doesn't happen again to other people across the country. And that's why we're engaged in hardball litigation, and we're going to continue with this as far and as long as is necessary.
All right. Brad Dacus, Pacific Justice Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe you have a legal issue that you think might need addressing. Let me give you their website address, pacificjustice.org. That's pacificjustice.org. They have attorneys all across the nation, and these folks are good. They are wonderful, wonderful lawyers, and they will certainly take a strong look at whatever you are dealing with. Brad, always good to hear from you, my friend. Please keep us updated on this one.
I will do. Thank you.
All right, there you have it. Brad Dacus suing Southwest Airlines over this crazy story. Unbelievable. But the Christian was almost not able to get on board the plane, and I guess ultimately that's what the end goal here was. If you weren't going to print out the boarding pass, Parker, were you shaking your head with the Southwest Airline the boarding procedures? Those are really frustrating.
I just didn't see the need to change it.
Yeah,
it was working.
I'm a Delta guy, and I'd make no apologies for this. I only fly first class. That's the only way I will travel.
And I don't blame you.
It's just otherwise, you don't want to be stuck back with the Real Housewives or whatever, and people get into a fist fight. I've seen what happens back in steerage. Then they give you the Dr. Pepper in a real glass.
That's a different level up there.
It's really nice. And but the big problem, though, I don't know what it is, but back in the day, you could fly and you could eat peanuts till you were, blue in the face. Nobody cared. But now you got the peanut allergies. And every single flight I'm on, somebody's got a freaking peanut allergy, so they can't serve any peanuts. That's not how they used to deal with it back in the day. I don't know when I don't even know. That's going to open up a whole can of worms. But it's just like, blasted peanut allergies? All right, fine, I'll have the biscotti. Okay.
Which is not bad either.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad. As a matter of fact, I'm heading out to Los Angeles. This is kind of funny. I'm heading out to Los Angeles. Have you guys noticed airline prices are insane right now? And people are, I know Joe from LJ's, yeah, because you fly first class, stars. What's going on with that? Someone once told me, about flying, God forbid the plane crashes, but you're going to heaven, the plane crashes, you go to heaven. Do you really want it on your mind that you paid, like, I don't know, $1,000 for your seat while the guy in the back of the plane going to heaven along with you only paid like $50? My answer to that is, I got no problem with that. I got no problem at all. Because you know why? Because I get Dr. Pepper in a glass, for God's sakes. But anyway, I had to pick out my menus. So they had a meal and everything. And it's really nice if you have to do a lot of traveling because there's a lot that goes on. And so it's good to be relaxed is the whole point of it. I'm not that pretentious. Then again, I do stay at the Ritz. So I don't know. All right. We got to take a break here. 901-260-5926, our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. Open line Friday. This is the Todd Stern Show. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Todd Starnes Radio Show. There's some freaky deaky stuff going on in all of these campaigns around the country, and the midterm's going to be really fascinating. I will tell you that Republican turnout not all that great, so you guys are going to have to get out and be sure you vote on Election Day. Early voting not going well in many states. However, in Georgia, you guys have an interesting gubernatorial race. And the former mayor of Atlanta, the woman who literally ran the entire city into the ground, Keisha Lance Bottoms, is making some headlines. This is Rick Jackson's latest ad. Rich Jackson, by the way, is a good guy. He grew up in extreme abject poverty, grew up in Techwood Homes, I believe, one of the most violent Section 8 housing projects in the city, and went on to become a multi-bazillionaire. Anyway, take a listen to Cut 30, please.
When Keisha Lance Bottoms got elected, she said,
"We must be good stewards of your tax dollars."
Just 30 days later,
taxpayers covered the cost of a first-class plane ticket for Mayor Bottoms' husband to fly to the Super Bowl.
Worse.
$11,000 in luxury chauffeured car service tabs in just her first 5 months in office.
If Mayor Bottoms wants her legacy to be we're too greedy to care, then they're off to a great start.
Keisha Lance Bottoms, she's out for herself, not Georgia.
Oh, wow. All right. You know, I wonder, I should have checked with our friends at WDUN. I bet you guys are getting overwhelmed by all of the campaign ads. You know, the station I own, KWAM in Memphis, campaign ads are so insane right now. We've completely run out of inventory. We're sold out. Everybody's calling everybody all sorts of crazy stuff. This story, though, may be the weirdest. And this is saying something. Coming from a campaign cycle where, you had a guy who was, had allegiance to the Nazis and did all sorts of horrible things to women in Maine. And you've got James Talarico, the guy who found his girlfriend in a gay bar. There's just some weird stuff going down all over the place. This headline, though, I did not see coming. It turns out the guy that's going to be replacing Graham Plattner on the ticket, his name is Troy Jackson out of Maine. And he has fathered children. He's in a long-term relationship with his high school sweetheart. Well, that's nice, right? I mean, how many of those love stories have you heard, right? Where you meet, the lovebirds met in, junior high school, and they were best friends, and they go on to get married, and I don't know, they live together for the rest of their lives. They have kids, the whole nine yards. I mean, that's a heartwarming love story. Well, it turns out he married his second cousin and sired children with the second cousin. Jackson and the woman, the second cousin, share 2 adult children and the same great-great-grandparents. That's according to a report by independent journalist Steve Robinson. This is from the New York Post reporting. Notes that such relationships are both legal under state law and not uncommon in the rural North Maine Woods region. That's near the Canadian border. So that's kind of weird. What? I'm not judging anything. I don't know, Parker. I don't know if the children came out okay. I'm assuming they did, but there's a risk. I'm just saying when you're, the first cousins, you got to really steer clear of that. That's just, I was talking to somebody in Alabama about that the other day, actually. No, I'm just kidding. I am very happy to report this was happening in Maine and not south of the Mason-Dixon line. Jeez. It's Steve Cohen's old district. Brent Taylor running against 4 Republicans, and the primary is next week. Taylor is, from all indications, the front runner. He got President Trump's endorsement, and President Trump really delivered a powerful message about Brent Taylor and the fact that he's going to be an America First warrior. So really great. Well, guess where Brent Taylor is now? He's in Nashville, and he just got the endorsement of Kid Rock. So there you go. Well done, Senator Taylor, soon to be Congressman Brent Taylor, there in Nashville. All right, 901-260-5926. I want to go right away to our Patriot Mobile Newsmaker line. It is Friday, and always a pleasure to talk to our good buddy, the great American talk show host, Joe Messina. JoeMessina.com is the website. Joe, I want to run a story by you that we were talking about before the break. And hope, by the way, are you doing good? Everything going well for you?
On the advice of counsel, I've been told that I shouldn't answer the question and hold up my Fifth Amendment rights.
You know who I feel? You know what I was really concerned about watching all of that? But before we jump into this, there may have been a lot of people up on Capitol Hill. That was their drinking game word phrase. And I think Uber drivers may have been very, very busy.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm doing great.
Good.
It's very hot here in California. We're experiencing humidity like we never have before, but I grew up in Boston. We had humidity all over the place. So
I got a question for you. In Boston, did you guys have a lot of it's a delicate question to ask, really, Joe Messina, but did you guys ever have any first cousins getting it on?
No, oh God, you're going to get me in trouble. I'll just say no.
Okay. Well, I know. Look, I'm asking. The only reason I'm asking, it's like a major news story now, where the headline out of the New York Post is this guy running for the Senate, U.S. Senate. His name is Troy Jackson, and he fathered 2 kids with his second cousin. And to me, being in Tennessee, that is a bit unusual. I was just wondering, is that like a regional thing? That folks are getting shacked up with, or shacking up rather with their cousins.
No, and a lot of my people, if you pardon the term, they came from small villages in Italy. There wasn't much pickings there, so to speak.
Oh,
But I mean, never heard about it growing up. I'm gonna have to ask my mom.
Well, this could be the problem. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that. He grew up in a small town, population 237, so it may have been slim pickings, and that was as good as he could get, So, but apparently Maine has a law that bans marriages to your parents, grandparents, your children, grandchildren, siblings, nieces, nephews, aunts, or uncles. But apparently cousins are fair game.
Wait a minute, you have to put that in writing? Really?
Well, no, actually they did. So according to the Post, Maine the law initially banned first cousin marriage, but an amendment passed 2 years later that allowed cousins to marry if the would-be betrothed present a certificate of genetic counseling signed by a physician. And they had to, I guess, because and so the certificate, and I'm like, oh, well, what would that look like? And apparently, they have to be counseled and told that there is a risk of physical deformity or cognitive impairment, and God forbid, your kid's born, and instead of a nose, he's got like a big toe right in the middle of his face.
Yeah, there you go. And you needed again. We needed to take a class for that. I learned all this in biology in the 9th grade. I didn't need a certificate.
It's like, why are your eyes on the side of your head? What's going on there? That's not normal.
Oh, come out looking like a flounder. Yeah, pretty good.
Stop.
He obviously takes after your side of the family, Frank.
Oh my God! There's that family tree doesn't branch. That's not good. That's not good.
We're gonna get in trouble. I just know.
No. I got in trouble a couple of years ago, and I've just stayed that way. It's a lot easier. So this is crazy, but anyway, that's the way it is. I'm just so happy. When I first heard the story, I'm like, please, God, don't let it be a southern state. So
Well, anyhow.
we have our own issues south of the Mason-Dixon line. So there you go. So, Joe, yesterday, the last show, my last show on Newsmax, I'm now a contributor. And we had Joe Moeller, who is our Los Angeles correspondent, on. He was doing a live report from Skid Row. And in the middle of the interview, Joe and his camera guy were attacked live on air. Some guy just walked up and, just knocked over the camera. And it was really kind of a shocking thing. I suggested to Joe they ought to chase after the guy and beat the living daylights out of him, but apparently you're not allowed to do that. What's going on there? This Skid Row in Los Angeles, is it really that dangerous?
Yeah, you know what? It happens here all the time where that the news sources in California, you read some of the stories, I know you do. There's no detail in there. There's no talk of real violence that's happening. Yeah, you see pictures of them in the streets. You see pictures of the homeless people sorrowfully falling over dead after they, take drugs or what have you. But you're not hearing about the real violence, and I do. I mean, some of us who are involved in paying attention to what's happening. I've got friends of mine in this business that won't go to downtown LA because of that, and not just downtown LA. We have several pockets. You probably heard about the San Fernando Valley. It's just as big as the city of Los Angeles, and it's part of the city, but it's not city proper. It's kind of an area outside of there. And every major side street that you go down, it's just lined with tents. It's lined with RVs. It's lined with people sleeping in the streets. And yeah, there's a lot of you can't even if you go down there and you look clean, you look like you're not part of the Klan, you're going to get in trouble.
I'm curious, what are people, even liberals, I'm curious, are any liberals actually bothered by any of this? Because, those are their neighborhoods.
Not a word. Karen Bass came out. I really want to know what vitamins she's taking in the morning, because she came out. She obviously surrounded by protection, walking down the streets, and she's going, "Look, it's clean, it's safe. We've taken a big chunk out of the homeless." I don't. She must be part of that 47% of the people in LA that can't hit their age limit for math. She can't add two numbers together. It's terrible. It's gotten worse. It's actually it's grown to 22% in the last year and a half. So they won't admit to it. If they don't admit to it, they can't deal with the issue. And I think that the police chief in LA serves at the pleasure of the mayor. So he's not going to do anything she doesn't want him to do. He's not going to report anything she doesn't want him to report. Yeah, it's bad.
So we're hearing a lot, and by the way, we're honored to have our good buddy Joe Messina with us. We just had Brad Dacus on, by the way. You're a good friend. So he was your intro act. Joe Messina, host of the Joe Messina Show. Joe, Gavin Newsom is now releasing his tax returns, showing that he and his wife brought in well over $1 million each year, peaked at $3.5 million in 2021. And looks like he's doing this clearly making the preparations for a possible presidential run. Kamala Harris, too. What are you hearing out there on the West Coast?
Oh, my God. This is, we probably have mutual friends and some of our journalist friends. Look, how do you afford a $9.1 million winery making $1 million a year? I mean, what did he declare after the $1 million? Seriously, he's got property up and down the state. He's got investments in things that you and I would dream about having. And so you are here for the people paying attention. We know how much money he's raking in for real. I'm hearing some of the Democrats, some of the well-known Democrats, they're not saying it out loud, but they're really having heartburn with him running for president because they know about the problems that he's having. You heard about the scandal that just broke with he has a thing for blonde women that are married to other men. I don't know if you picked that up or not, but so that's what we're hearing about more here as opposed to the money.
Wow. So another sex scandal, maybe.
Oh, she openly admits to having the relationship with him, I think 10 or 11 months. She fell on the sword and said, look, I think it's wrong, but she fell on the sword and said, it's my fault. I was married. I just had a baby. I was, I worked with him and I was just in a bad way and what have you. Like, why? Because he doesn't know. You mean he couldn't control himself? Give me a break. Don't cover for him.
Her name is Ruby Rippey, which is a good name for, okay, not going to go there.
Don't say it.
Former,
Don't say
no,
it.
I'm not. I caught myself.
I thought it. Don't say it.
But if you type in, your name into one of those online forms, well, anyway. Ruby, former City Hall aide, and she worked for then the mayor, and she wrote this big essay, this tell-all, and sold it to Vanity Fair. So she's making big money out of all of this.
Yeah. I'm saying, I I got to do it. I'm going to explode. But at least her name's not Candy Delight. You know what I mean? That would have been a great, great piece. For this
That's
piece.
a good elf name, yes. Candy
He is-
Delight.
and I'm saying this because I've been following this guy for years now. He is truly his last name should be changed to New Scum. He doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about anybody but Gavin and Gavin's aspirations and Gavin's wallet, Gavin's bank account. The deals and the things he's making on the major fires that we have, these homes, these properties that he's allowing to be sold to Chinese nationals. It's all that it's all money in his pocket ultimately. He's got the Joe Biden thing going on where it goes through 5 or 6 different companies before it makes it back to him. No bid contracts that he's given to his wife or NGOs that his wife runs. He is, you know what? He could teach the mafia how to do business.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Joe, we're going to have to leave it there, my friend. Joe Messina, host of the Joe Messina Show. JoeMessina.com is the website. By the way, coming to California, my friend, next Sunday, that would be August the 9th, speaking at Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills, all 3 of their morning worship services over in Southern California. So let's hope the heat wave breaks by then.
Well, I will pray for you because we hit 107 this week.
Oh, my word.
And your producer said it felt like 107. I said, no. Here it was 107.
Wow. All right, Joe. Good hearing from you, my friend. Stay cool.
You too. God bless. Be safe.
All right. There you go. So, did we go too far with the baby story team? I don't think we did. But I would be concerned. I mean, first cousins have a baby, and you've got some sort of an appendage where your nose is supposed to be.
I'm going to plead the fifth here, Todd.
That's it. All right. Thank you, Fauci. Got to take a break. 901-260-5926, our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. This is the Todd Starnes Show. Let's go to the phone lines here, 901-260-5926. Charles in Gainesville, Georgia. WDUN wants to weigh in on cousins getting married. Hey, Charles.
Hey, this is kind of a solution. The young man comes home and he says, Dad, Susan and I are getting married. His dad says, wait a minute, son, you can't marry Susie. Your mother doesn't know it, but she's your sister. He goes to his mother and he says, Mom, Dad says I can't marry Susie because she's my sister. She says, you go ahead and marry Susie. What your dad don't know is you're not his son.
What? Holy
That's
cow.
how that goes.
Wow, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, that's I've heard that over time.
All right.
So sometimes these cousins are not really cousins.
Oh, well, and that may be the case. At least here in Maine, it has been. I guess they've been able to verify that information. But you know, it's interesting. I didn't realize this, but they say about 2 to 3% of the general population risks having a child born with some sort of a birth defect or something like that.
Yeah.
For children of first cousins, it's almost triple. It's almost double that, 4 to 6%. So the risk doubles. So that's you're playing with fire there.
Yep.
Yep. All right, Charles. Thank you for calling in. That's very clever. 901-260-5926, our number. That's 901-260-5926. Wow. Took an odd turn. I didn't think we were going to talk about kissing cousins today. But you never know. You never know. You know what we need, Parker? We need the song. We need the Fauci song. That's what we need.
Oh, we always need
it.
That.
It brightens my day.
Dr. Fauci, give us vaccines. Help all the people who have been quarantined. We'll wear our masks and we'll have to stay distant. We'll wash our hands and we'll be more resistant. Fauci. Yes?
Fauci.
Promise us, please.
Ow!
We'll have a cure that can fight off this disease. Restrictions will lift with some ease. Dr. Fauci, don't forget me.
You know, you heard some rustling. He actually had note cards with the lyrics on the cards. You know who they're saying he is? Everybody's trying to figure out who this kid is because he has like a mask on, the face diaper. But he has the same hairdo. Are you ready for this? As James Talarico out of Texas. So a lot of people are saying maybe this could be James Talarico or maybe a close friend of James Talarico. We don't know. We're going to try to hunt down this guy. I want to interview this guy. I wonder if he has any other songs. Maybe he has an album, Parker. I mean, you never know.
I wonder who else is on that album.
Oh, well, you've got to have the school choir that sang Barack Hussein Obama. You've got to have the crazy women that were screaming when Hillary Clinton and the Javits Center when Hillary lost the night of the election. That we got to have that. And then the women, I think we've got to have the women. There are so many. We got to have the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus singing "They're Coming After Your Children."
We cannot forget about that one.
No,
That's what started this all.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. So there are enough songs, liberals across America. I mean, we could put together a compilation album. Not to mention all of the women going out into the woods and just screaming at the moon, which is like becoming a big thing now. So there you go. So great idea, Parker. All right, we're going to work on that. The challenge may be getting the copyrights, to the songs. I'm not sure anybody would want to copyright a song about, coming after, children, gay men coming after your children. But who knows? I mean, maybe it's a popular song in San Francisco. All right, hang tight. Hour 3 coming up. We're going to be talking to Scott Walker, former Wisconsin governor, heads up Young America's Foundation, and they have a Freedom at 250 rally coming up at Mount Vernon. So a lot to talk about with the governor. That'll be coming up right up after your top of the hour news. Don't forget, Pre-order a copy of The Golden Age, How Trump Saved America, right now on Amazon. Well, happy Friday to you, America. Welcome to the Todd Stearns Radio Show. Wow, what an honor to have you with us today. By the way, great interview with Senator Marsha Blackburn earlier in the program, and also Brad Dacus from Pacific Justice Institute. Now, if you would like to listen to the entire interview, maybe you missed a portion of it, just go to our website and download our free podcast. We have over, I think, 500,000 subscribers now to the podcast. Well done, you guys. Go and download. It's free of charge. We don't charge a single penny for that. And you'll be able to listen to all of our interviews this week. Also, ladies and gentlemen, next week we are in the final stages of the book launch. The new book, The Golden Age, How Trump Saved America. Over 300 pages. I'm really proud of this book here, folks, and I think you're going to love it. It is a great read. It is a celebration of what conservatives have done in this country, and it's also a call to action for conservatives to carry on the conservative movement into and beyond 2028. So The Golden Age, How Trump Saved America, in bookstores across the nation on August 11th. But you can pre-order now wherever you get your books, and we're urging you to do that so you'll make sure to have a copy on book launch day. Well, there's also a very exciting event happening at Mount Vernon. Our good friends at Young America's Foundation hosting Freedom at 250, one of their massive rallies featuring all sorts of great conservative leaders. On our Patriot Mobile Newsmaker line today, we're honored to have the former governor of Wisconsin. He heads up Young America's Foundation, Scott Walker. Scott, good to have you with us today.
Hey, Todd, thanks for being with us, or thanks for having me on, I should say, and thanks for helping us kick off our Freedom at 250 down in Nashville. It's been a great year thus far. We're excited, as you say, for Mount Vernon.
Look, that was a lot of fun. You guys threw one heck of a rally, and the turnout was just insane. And I have to tell you, I was talking to, you guys put us up in the hotel complex there. And I was talking to a couple of the folks at the counter, and they were just going on and on. I should have told you this back when it happened. They were going on and on about how nice and polite and well-mannered all the kids were.
We love it. These are great, brave, courageous people. Been up on some big battles, particularly for college students up on campuses. And so we'll have at George Washington's Mount Vernon this coming Thursday, over 1,000 people from all across the country will be joining us. Well, great speakers, Ben Shapiro, former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is going to make the case that we need a strong America to have save Western civilization, all sorts of other tremendous speakers and fireworks, and then a whole rest of a conference down in D.C. that's going to feature folks from the Trump administration, members of Congress, and, of course, some great conservative speakers from all across the country, all with the impact of not just having a great conference, but equipping these young people to go back to their campuses and fight for freedom.
And that's really why, we've been plugged in and so supportive of what you guys are doing, because it is about equipping the students. And look, your kids are going to have a great time. They're going to have a blast. They're going to meet all sorts of other great kids. But at the end of the day, if that's all it is, okay, that's just another cool weekend together. So when you throw in the idea that you're equipping these kids with something, you are really helping to build the foundation for the next generation of leadership in America.
That's exactly right. And it's not just through chapters of Young America's Foundation. By the way, if someone's listening, wants some help, or wants their kids or grandkids to have help, YF.org, you're under attack, YAF's got your back. But it's not only our YAF chapters. We provide more speakers, for example, on college campuses than any other group in America for the college Republicans, for other groups out there as well. And so it's really about equipping these students to bring speakers to campus to challenge the democratic socialist and the Marxist attacks that they get, not only from professors, but from fellow students. And the good news is, I got to tell you, is what otherwise seems pretty dire when you hear these polls, the good news in our polling is while there are clearly more liberal than conservative students, the number one answer when we ask young people on college campuses where they're at politically is moderate. And, you and I might think, well, we want conservatives. I obviously want a conservative, but to me, in today's society on a college campus where liberals are celebrated, if a student without being exposed to any of these ideas says, I'm not crazy enough to be considered a liberal, I'm somehow in the middle, I'll take that, because that means we got a fighting chance we bring good speakers, if we get the message across, we can convert them to the truth.
Oh yeah, we can work with that. All right, that's good. We can work with that. I love all the conferences that you guys host, and of course, you guys have now even gone to middle school level. So you guys have the beautiful Ronald Reagan Boyhood Home in Dixon, Illinois, and I'm wondering how that's going. You guys are fairly new to the middle school part of the movement. What's been the response so far?
Oh, it's just been fabulous. Again, Freedom at 250, if people are interested, YF.org. We just had a few weeks ago our biggest gathering ever for high school students initially, but then our biggest middle school expedition ever at the Ronald Reagan Boyd Home in Dixon, Illinois. We had a massive rally, block party as part of that. And Rachel Campos Duffy and Sean Duffy came and joined an all-star lineup there as well. We're going to have in September another for first ever regional, taking it out of D.C., California, where the Reagan Ranch is at, or Dixon. We're now going to have one in Minnesota. Lord knows the people in Minneapolis could use some help. And we're going to start doing these all over the country. And we got to start early. We've done it now for a few years, and it's been fun to see at these high school conferences, some of the top leaders right away in our leadership squad are young people who went in through the middle school program. So the reason years and years ago they started a high school program was to get young people started sooner in college. The same things now hold true in middle school. And again, the left is fighting there younger and younger. We got to push back.
My next big literary project, I'm heading out, going to be spending a couple of weeks over at the Reagan Presidential Library, writing a fictionalized series based on Ronald Reagan's growing up years in Dixon, and really excited. Already started doing the research, and the stories coming out of that family home, and the lessons he learned from small town America, that shaped him as a boy and ultimately shaped his, I think, message. As when he became governor and then president, I can't imagine how exciting it's going to be to know that maybe one of our future presidents came up through the Young America's Foundation programming.
Well, it really did. You look at the impact. The Reagan movie, which is based on the book The Crusader, in fact, the Reagan movie just re-released with a director's cut, has some great segments of that go back to his childhood in Dixon, things that affected his faith, wanting to be baptized, the impact of his mother, but even simple things like he was a lifeguard for 10 years on Lowell Park at the Rock River, and he saved 77 lives.
77, yeah.
One of the things he talked about was watching, the currents, and later in life, when he figured that out with the Soviets, when everybody else was content with containment, he wanted to transform communism and not just contain it. He wanted to change the economy. I mean, there's all these things, work ethic, all these things he learned right there in the Midwest. Of course, being from the heartland of America, I appreciate that as much as you do.
And I think, when you talk about communism, Reagan understood what the true fight was about, as did William F. Buckley Jr., that this was really a religious fight more so than it was a political fight. It was good versus evil. And that really flavored how Ronald Reagan approached, going after the old Soviet Union back in the day. We've got Scott Walker.
That's right. The church he went to down the block in Dixon, that was his first exposure, was he saw as a young man a Russian dissident come and talk about what really shook him early on as a young man was hearing about under communism, them pushing faith out, that atheism and stopping religious, not just Christians, but Jews and others from being able to practice their faith. That really touched him, and he realized economic freedom, political freedom, but religious freedom are all together what we're up against, not only with communism, but increasingly these days with democratic socialism as well.
And of course, you're right, what is old is new again, and right here on American soil as we begin to have those fights. Scott Walker joining us. He is the president of Young America's Foundation, hosting a massive Freedom at 250 rally at Mount Vernon. Why Mount Vernon, and how did you guys get the go-ahead there?
Well, as you know, we've had so much fun being connected to President Reagan, so to be at the Reagan Ranch, to be at the Reagan Boyd Home. But we thought in the East Coast, instead of just being in D.C., what better when we celebrate the 250th anniversary of our great republic than to be at the home of the father of our country, George Washington. And so we asked, and we told him what we were doing, and thankfully They hold plenty of events there, and obviously we had to pay for it, but it's worth doing. We just think it's going to be a great venture, even fireworks and the whole bit, but a wonderful way, not only at Mount Vernon, but all throughout this year, to remind young Americans what our founders risked for the freedoms we hold dear today, and then challenge them as to what they're willing to do to defend them going forward. And we particularly remember not only with Washington, but think about it. James Monroe ended up being our 5th president. He was 18 on July 4, 1776. Alexander Hamilton, he was 21. James Madison, the author of the U.S. Constitution, 25. And Thomas Jefferson, the man who wrote the Declaration of Independence, he was a mere 33 years old. A great reminder that you're never too young to fight for freedom.
Well, that's it. That's it. Before we let you go, I do have to brag. You've got a great lineup of speakers. Two of my favorites, Dr. Bert Folsom, who I did not know very well until I got to start hanging out with you guys. What he just connects so well with the young people, and also Art Laffer, Dr. Art Laffer, who is one of the most brilliant people I know on the planet.
Those two are fabulous. Of course, Bert Folsom, Dr. Folsom, retired now from Hillsdale, just spectacular. No wonder he was a great educator at Hillsdale College. Dr. Laffer, iconic, obviously. We love him. But he's become a mentor for another one who's going to speak there as well, who's also one of my favorites, Dr. Daniel DiMartino, who's not even 30, but tells the story of what it was like growing up in Venezuela, why he fled, came to America. He takes that logic that Laffer's had for decades, matches it with that personal story, and it packs a punch in fighting back against democratic socialism.
Great guys. Just a great lineup. Folks, if you want information, go to yaf.org. That's yaf.org. Are there still, are they still able to register, or are you guys sold out?
No, we'll make room. This is not only a record crowd, this is double the size of our record crowd last year. We wanted to make a special effort, thanks to supporters all across the country for stepping up and saying, no, we got to, this year of any year, we got to get more young people in the fight. So this is twice the size of our largest conference ever, but go to yf.org or Freedom at 250. And by the way, this is for college. If you're a high schooler and want to come to yet another one of our conferences in October, we'll be at the Constitution Center in Philadelphia. We'll be over at Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell and all those cool things for high schoolers as well. So this is really a fun year, and it all kicked off with you and a great lineup down in Nashville and the Country Music Hall of Fame and the conference center there as well.
That was your best conference ever. I'm just going to say it. It was pretty darn awesome.
God bless the USA. How do you beat that?
Exactly. No, you're exactly right. It was just a great venue and a great time. Scott, we're going to have to leave it there, but man, I hope you guys have a great time, and I'm so excited to watch these young people as they learn about freedom.
Thanks so much. God bless.
All right. There you go. Scott Walker, Young America's Foundation, yaf.org. If you've got a youngster, maybe you are a college student and you want to go, I always tell people if you only can go to you can only go to one student conference, this is the one you need to go to. You're going to have a blast. It's going to be fun. They put on, the smoke and the lights and the mirror and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. Great entertainment. But you're going to get rock solid education and information. And that's what I love about it. And you got to go check them out. yaf.org. All right. Got to take a quick break here, folks. Our telephone number, 901-260-5926. It's Open Line Friday. That's 901-260-5926. We'll be taking your calls. Also, this segment of the program brought to you by our friends at Chapter. We are so excited to have Chapter as one of our great sponsors. This is for all of you folks turning 65, or maybe you are already on Medicare. Well, you could be overpaying right now, and you may not even know it. And that's why I want to tell you about Chapter. They are very honest. They are not paid to push any particular plan. They're the only Medicare advisor that compares every plan nationwide to tell you where you stand. In literally one call, you're going to know exactly what you are entitled to. Now, if you're already on the right plan, Chapter advisors are going to tell you that. And if you're not, they're going to help you switch. Look, it is absolutely free to talk to them. Takes less than 20 minutes. So if you're turning 65 already on Medicare, go to askchapter.org/real help. Again, that's askchapter.org/real help. askchapter.org/realhelp.
Honest and true. Todd Starn.
Right. Hope you're having a great time this Friday. But do you have big weekend plans, or what are you doing across America, ladies and gentlemen? Maybe we should start making this a Friday thing. What you got going on? You know, there's a lot of stuff happening around the nation, and we have some of the coolest festivals and rallies and events. So give us a call, 901-260-5926. Let's go to Denise in Maine, watching us on Rumble. Denise, I take it you went away on this whole second cousins thing.
Oh my gosh, we're not all like that. Trust me. Maine's got a lot of good people in it, and when you said about Troy Jackson, I was like, I didn't know that. This guy, about this guy, and I don't know. I don't think he's gonna win.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope not. I mean, the guy's just not that good of a candidate. And Susan Collins, she certainly seems to be a workhorse. But you think she's going to be? You think she's going to cross the finish line there?
I think she will. I'm not a huge Susan Collins fan, but we don't have much in Maine.
Yeah, no. Well, clearly,
Maine doesn't have too many candidates. And I mean, I like Susan Collins. She does do a lot of things. She works both sides of the aisle. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to vote for her over this guy. This guy's, I don't know.
No. Look, Denise, most of the time when you hear about cousins getting married, there's a southern state involved. And so I'm just, as a southerner, I'm kind of happy it's not our people this go around.
Right. You think of the South, right? Oh, my gosh. I know it made me think of my cousin Vinny.
Oh, that's...
When the two guys got arrested and they say they're inbreds over here. You know, I'm like, oh, my God.
The Utes.
Although we're close to the border of Canada, so I don't know what they do in Canada.
Well, they got their own issues over there, so, it's, yeah.
Right.
By the way...
Maine's a big mess.
I hear a dog in the background. What kind of a dog do you have?
Oh, she is 3/4 Dachshund and 1/4 Maltese.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she's spicy. I'm like, of course she's going to start barking. I'm on the phone.
It's all good.
The room and close the door.
No, what's your dog's name?
Roxy.
Roxy. Okay, very nice.
Yep, we got her 4 years ago, and the girl that we got her from, she breeds Dachshunds, and this one's a mix, but now the mom and the pop of Roxy are retired, so now she just does pure Dachshund.
Very nice. Well, Denise, you tell Roxy we said hello, and steer clear of those second cousins, Maine. We'll be right back, everybody. This is the Todd Stearns Radio Show. I do have a question for you. Have any of you ever been to a Culver's restaurant? Parker, you're shaking your head yes.
I have a few times.
Is that right? I've only been one time, and I just remember thinking, this is the best food I have ever had in a very long time.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't say that when I went there, but it was a very good burger.
Really? So I had the roast beef sandwich, and it was like a pot roast beef sandwich. It was delicious.
I have heard that was really good. I haven't got that yet.
You got to try that the next time
Okay.
You're there. But the fries, I think they do the crinkle fries, if I'm not mistaken.
They do the crinkle fries, and they do the fried cheese bites. Those are really good.
You can't go wrong. I will only, there are only two kinds of fries I will eat. Well, now I'm not allowed to eat any, but the steak fries, but they got to be crisp, right? There's nothing worse than a limp steak fry, right? So you've got to be crisp on the outside and then fluffy on the inside. And the same with the crinkle fry. There are some places in Memphis where they have limp, crispy fries, the crinkle fries, and I don't like that.
What's your opinion on the Chick-fil-A fries?
Not a fan.
Really?
Yeah, I have never liked those waffle fries.
That's surprising to me.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're like really crispy?
I know that even if they're crispy, I know that's kind of, you know why? I don't like, they keep the skin of the potato on it.
That's fair.
And I'm not a big fan. But again, I just don't like, I don't like their waffle fries. Their mac and cheese is good, though.
Good mac and cheese.
I like the mac, but I'll eat the mac and cheese with the grilled nuggets. You got to balance it out with the healthy.
That's a good way to do it.
Got to do that. I miss the, they used to have a chicken salad back in the day. I love their chicken salad sandwich. It was always good. And then they had carrot salad. And I know that's like a generational thing, but I used to love a good carrot salad.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, it's good. By the way, have you ever been to the Piccadilly?
I don't know.
Parker May, you have to.
I feel like I have.
You got to go. Here's the thing. It's really for old people, but you got to go. It's a cafeteria style, and you go through and you tell them what you want, and you got to get the carrot souffle. It's a Southern tradition, and it'll change your life.
I'm taking notes over here.
Yeah. So you get the roast beef. Get the carrot souffle. You can get they've got great food. Anybody that's been to the Piccadilly, you got to help Parker out here. But it's like a quintessential Southern cafeteria style restaurant. They've got one in Germantown.
I love those kinds of restaurants.
Yeah.
There's one in in Birmingham. I've been
was that
a few times.
Very
good.
You got to go. Yeah, they're very good. The reason I asked about Culver's, though, there's a woman running for governor in Wisconsin. She's the gubernatorial candidate. She's a Democrat. She's a DSA gal, so she's a Democratic socialist. Her name is Francesca Hong. And she is all about defunding the police, abolishing ICE, and she is her challenger is our good buddy, the former Congressman Tom Tiffany. So that's who she's running against. And she is a radical leftist. Anyway, she's coming under fire because she once wrote about Culver's, the restaurant. And here's what she had to say about Culver's. This is Francesca Hong for governor. Why you would put this on your gubernatorial campaign page, I do not know. She says, I ate 2 bites of my kid's cheeseburger at a Culver's in Black River Falls, Wisconsin, and told him they ran out of ice cream. Mosley just wanted to leave because I was on the verge of an anxiety attack. What? That's terrible. Why would you? Those anxiety attacks are nothing to mess around with. You know why she had an anxiety attack? Here's what she wrote. Too many old white people who didn't think we spoke English. That's at the Culver's in Black River Falls. So, a lot to unpack here in this little Twitter statement or X statement. First of all, why is she eating her kid's food? Why don't you just order your own food? Why are you eating your child's food? And I would remember as a child, I actually remember this as a grown adult. I was a very well-known pastor who has not been on this program. I will not name names. I won't tell you what state it was. But anyway, invited me out for dinner. In the middle of the dinner, the guy starts eating off of my plate. We were like with a group of people. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell you what denomination, but I'm thinking to myself, what the hell are you doing? I almost said it out loud, that would have been rude. And I guess the guy thought because he was buying everybody's supper that gave him carte blanche to eat my fried chicken tenders. If you wanted a chicken tender, why don't you order it? I always think that's right. I've always, that for me, that's the no-no. You don't. So why is the woman eating her kid's cheeseburger? But then she lies to her child. The child wanted an ice cream. And by the way, I understand, is that the Culver's ice cream? Is that stuff? What is it in the Midwest? It's like spackle. The ice cream is delicious, but it's really thick ice cream. You could like spackle and put bricks on it. It's
Custard.
That custard. Thank you. I don't know it's delicious. Don't get me wrong. But it is. It's like really thick ice cream. So anyway, the kid wanted some ice cream, and she told him they ran out. That's like, sorry, son, no Christmas this year. Santa ran out of presents. Wow. Thanks a lot, Mom. But anyway, she says that there were too many old white people in the Culvers. Parker, when you went to the Culvers, was that your experience? Were there a lot of old white people there?
100%.
Really? All right. So maybe that's their demo. But and she said they didn't think, how does she know that? How does she know? You know why? Because I do wonder if this might have happened. Some 80-year-old sweet grandmother, and maybe, again, they may not have many, I don't know, she's Asian. They may not have many Asian folk in Black River Falls. And it's something of an anomaly. And so you know how old people do when they don't think you speak English? Hello! How are you today? Are you enjoying your Culvers? They just yell at you. And it's like, I'm not deaf. I'm just, don't speak English. So maybe that happened. I don't, when you're going to make these sorts of accusations, you really have to be like, you've got to work on the detail. You've got to pay attention to the detail. We've got to have those details so we can talk about it all. But anyway, Francesca Hong, who wants to be the next communist governor of Wisconsin, apparently she got set on her path to socialism because she felt like people were mistreating her at a Culver's restaurant. Would you like some chopsticks? I don't know. Something tells me this is all made up. Something tells me the woman is a cheapskate. She didn't want to order a burger for herself, so she's chowing down on her kid's burger. The kid's in a bad mood. I want to interview the kid. I guarantee the kid would spill the beans on Mom. You get the little kid into the room. All right, kid, spill the beans. She ate my damn cheeseburger. Don't vote for that woman. I'm voting for Tom Tiffany. Well, you're 7. Well, Democrats, we can vote when we're 7. Okay, gotcha. Just ask for a general ballot, I guess. So anyway, no, I don't know if that's how the kid sounds, but because if it was a teenager, you'd be pushing back, right? I mean, I'm in all seriousness, right? You don't do that. This is an evil woman, is what I'm trying to get around to say here. And it seems to me that she's one of these people always looking for a fight. Francesca Hong, the state representative. Oh, she's a single mom. Well, yeah. You know why? She was probably eating off her husband's plate all the time. He didn't want to put up with that nonsense. All right, we got to take a break. 901-260-5926. That's 901-260-5926. This is the Todd Starnes Show. Back. This is the Todd Starnes Radio Show. Maybe they walked over and gave the woman a fortune cookie. Maybe that was it. I don't know. Francesca Hong, running for governor in Wisconsin. Man, those Democrats have some weird candidates. And folks, I still think that the Republicans are going to win, and they're going to win big, no matter what happens. But anyway, 901-260-5926, our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. I want to go back to a story we told you about yesterday. By the way, we had the video of this on our website. You got to go and check this out at toddsterns.com. A woman walked into a private dentist office, and she got triggered by God's word. They had Bibles on the tables. And the woman completely lost her mind. There's a development here. Cut number 29, please.
So I just went to take my kids to a new dentist, and I walk in and see Bibles on the tables everywhere. And I go to the reception counter and say, hey, what's with all the Bibles everywhere? And they said, oh, they're just there. Da, da, da. And I said, I need to cancel my appointment. I'm not playing games anymore. This is not a Christian nation. You don't need to have Bibles out everywhere in your office. Or you can, and I won't patronize it. So don't tell me that queer people are trying to shove their agenda down people's throats when everywhere I go, there's Bibles around, there's people let me pray for you. Don't give me that. I'm done.
Oh, my goodness. So here's the thing. She was there at the dentist, not for herself, but for her children. Now, I don't know why her kids were going there to see the dentist, if they maybe had teeth that were rotting out, or maybe they had like a cavity, or maybe they're there for braces. You know, they got teeth growing on top of teeth, like some sort of a first cousin kind of a thing going. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could have been, but whatever it was, they had to go see the dentist. And in spite of that, ladies and gentlemen, the mom said, we're done here. They worship Jesus. You're going to have to deal with your lousy teeth. And I just hate it. You're going to have this woman, her kids are going to be, teenagers, and they're going to have to wear dentures. It's really unfortunate. 901-260-5926, our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. This story freaks the ever-living daylights out of me, and I'm just going to say that this is one of the reasons why I don't like hiking in the forest. Aside from the fact that bears, I'm just going to say this. We used to do this a lot when I was in college. We'd go camping out in East Tennessee and over in the Ocoee. Parker, you ever been over to Ocoee with the Whitewater Rapids and all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. My youth group goes every year.
So when I was in college, I almost became a guide on the river. That's how much I love whitewater rafting.
No way.
That was back in the day. Except we had this one rafter. He was hardcore, and he loved targeting the kayakers on the river with with the boats. And he had on the side of his raft, he had like etched out like 5 or 6 little kayaks. Those were his kill shots. He's hardcore. So anyway, what was the point of this story? Oh, so anyway, we would also go camping and hiking. I was a big outdoors. There was a time in my life when I was really into outdoors, and we go camping in the national forest out there, have a lot of fun. Anyway, this story from Montana, a male nurse, his name is David Schifaldi, was on a 10-mile hike. This accident happened at Granite Peak. He slipped on rocks, and this guy is very physically fit, and he was hiking, and he had these trek poles, the poles that if you're a climber, you're going up a mountain, you'd use these to kind of help steady yourself. We're going to post the pictures at toddsterns.com. So the guy takes a tumble. He rolled over, and he realized something was not quite right, and that's when he realized he had impaled himself on one of the trek poles. It just went right through him like an arrow. Caleb Park, our good buddy Caleb Park, actually has the photos on his Facebook page. And, I mean, it went right through, like right under the arm, right out the back. And the guy was lucky to be alive. But here's the deal. He was by himself. So he figured out right away, being a nurse, that that he was still able to walk. Oh, I'm sorry. He had two friends with him. They decided to leave it all in place, and they hiked back down. They hiked 10 miles down the mountain. This guy is impaled. And he lived to tell about it. Shockingly, the pole missed all of his vital organs. What a story. What a story. Well, good job, Mr. Safaldi. What about that nursing training? Hey, let's go to Houston, Texas. June is listening to Patriot Talk 920, wants to talk about this Wisconsin candidate. Hi, June. What's on your mind?
Hi, Todd. I've been listening to you, and I couldn't help but call you. I'm Asian, and I don't like that woman. I don't like her beliefs. But when you talked about her and her buying a hamburger and a kid's meal, I have to confess that I have some friends who will do that just to save money. And then when she was saying she goes to Culver's, I go to a Culver's. And in the Hill Country, there's some Culver's, and I love it. And it is a lot of older white people, but, you know, if they look at you, I think it's your own chip on your shoulder, because they might just be curious, but usually they're not. They're very nice. They might want to ask you a question. So it's on her for, thinking that, she's feeling weird or something, because, it's not just Asians. I think everybody, if you don't know anybody, you might be curious. It's not a staring meaning that they're, thinking badly. They just may be curious. And a lot of times when you talk to them, then they're very nice. So I think she has the wrong,
It's an attitude.
Yes.
June,
bad attitude.
I'm going to tell you two quick stories. When I lived in New York City, I loved Southern food. The only place to get Southern food was in Harlem, which at that point was like predominantly black. And I remember showing up at a soul food restaurant, and the woman at the front counter, everybody kind of stared and looked. I was the only white guy in the establishment. And the woman behind the counter said, you're either lost or you're from the South. And I said, I'm here for the sweet potato pie. She said, have a seat. And, I became a regular. The other story, I'm a huge Cuban fan. I love, the pork and the beans and the Cuban food. And I found one, and it was like in Spanish Harlem somewhere. And again, I was the only white guy there, and had a blast. But everybody's looking at you because it's kind of unusual for a white guy to show up in those parts.
Yes, and so I think it's the people that are so self-aware, but they have an attitude, It's like, maybe you should say hi or something. And actually, I have another story.
June, you know what? I want you to call us back Monday, because we're literally out of time for today. But I want you to call us back and finish telling us that story on Monday. So you've got to do that. All right, folks, it's been a lot of fun. ToddStearns.com. Go look at these crazy stories from this hiking accident. And in the meantime, get out there. Have a great Friday. Whatever you do, folks, be sure to go to church this weekend. Be good, America.